Hello, this is John Aker, call sign Nomad. This is my YouTube channel. The top line of the splash screen is their YouTube is calling a handle, part of the URL to find this channel, youtube.com/@ John Aker, aviating author. And note the dots, the periods between the last four words. That forms the handle. This introduction is the first of more than a dozen videos that I generated that follow my autobiography, recollections, my life in and out of the military. And they will represent planes I flew during the 18 years of active flying status I was on during my 20-year military career as a United States Air Force pilot. I found software that runs in the computer flight simulator world, matching airplanes that I flew in real life. And I narrate them with a narrative stream of consciousness, stories of what was happening in my life during the times when I flew those airplanes. And, well, they're war stories, you know, of course. And in war stories, you have to be careful because the first liar ain't got a chance. I learn a little bit about computer flight simulators and videos, the equipment I use to get it done, and we'll have some fun. And check your six back there. I might be on your tail. Nomad is back. Let's take a look at the rest of this series. We're at the bottom of that right-hand column. You can see this is video numbered 11, although it is actually the 17th video I've created in the series. We're at Offutt Air Force Base. I'm in SAC headquarters, getting my flying time out of base flight, flying with them in the T29 and the variations, planes built by Convair. And the other airplane, it's only fitting, I got some time in the PA28, built by Piper Aircraft. We've moved up 10 models. Began my flying career in the Piper PA28, a metal frame, fabric covered airplane. At least the PA28 is all metal. So let's take a look at some of the events that came to be while I was putting in my time here in SAC headquarters. Hello there, this is John Aker, call sign Nomad, coming to you again for our final video in this series. Looks like a nice crisp autumn day here around Omaha, Nebraska, where Offutt Air Force is located. Actually, it's down south of town by a little town by the name of Bellevue, where my wife and I lived. We'll take a look at the airplane in a minute. The elevation around here is about 1,050 feet, and this is in the early 1970s. We're back with Flight Simulator 10 FSX again for these airplanes. The last two airplanes I'm going to show you. Let's see if we can find our bird. It's sitting out on a run-up pad by runway 30. There she is. This isn't the exact model that we flew. Base Ops was assigned several T29 trainers, navigational trainers, and you could tell those birds because there was a row of at least a half a dozen clear plastic bubbles on top, so multiple navigator trainees could take sextant shots to help with their navigation. This is a little closer to the C-131, which was an upgrade of the T29, those planes built by Convair. The C-131 was a little plusher, had some airline seats, and was a VIP hauler. So I had to fly both of these while I was here at Offutt Air Force Base. And noticed this plane carried its own entryway. Didn't have to roll up a stand to get in. So let's get the folks on board. Let's close up that ladder and hatch. And crank the engines. Hey! Okay, number 2's running. We leap into the wild blue yonder. Let's take a look on the interior. And this is not really the interior. The flight sim designer went back and borrowed the instrument panel from that C-47 Goonie bird that I showed you in the last time out. So we'll fly these, do a little VFR flying around here. Okay, now let's take the brakes off. Offutt has one runway. 1230. We'll be taking off on 30. Put a notch of flaps down there. And again, of course, since this is a recip airplane, piston engine, we would have done a full engine run-up on the run-up pad down there. And we'll just take a little trip around the local area. Don't know whether we'll have time. We may just zip down the road to Lincoln, the capital city of Nebraska. See what they're doing down there. These instrument markings are probably a little off. I recall we needed a little over 100 miles an hour, 100 knots. To get her into the air. Slow. Let's see if we can get the gear up. Oh, that's pretty good. All three retract forward. How handy. And let's bring up that notch of flaps we had. There we are. Cleaned up. Let's see, it's an airborne out of Valsalva there. Clear my ears. Take her up to around 3,000 feet. That'll be plenty for a quick tour around the area here.
unfortunately, 2019, Missouri River flooded. Missouri River runs just outside the base. Quite a bit of the base was underwater. They had to evacuate all the reconnaissance aircraft out of here. I remember if this is not the Missouri. I think this is a tributary. It may be the Platte River, branching off from the wide Missouri. Hey, while I was at Offutt, in that last video I told you I was on the way back from Korea, and somewhere in the middle I got a phone call from a fellow who'd been one of my crew members in Alaska. He was at Offutt, SAC headquarters, and I was headed for the 55th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, or Strategic Wing, and as a line pilot, and this fellow said, they're looking at around here at you. If you'd like, we can try to change your orders en route. You'll still be at Offutt, but you'll be assigned to SAC headquarters in the Joint Strategic Reconnaissance Center. How does that sound? I said, sounds like a plan to me. So I switched. I ticked off my old ops officer from Alaska because he was looking for me. He had some ideas in mind for me, what he was going to do with me as a line pilot. They were all positive. So I ticked him off. But I went to SAC headquarters, Strategic Reconnaissance Center, buried in the basement of H-Wing in a secure vault. We flew the T29s to the 131s to get our flying time. And one of my trips was flying the C-131 out of Offutt on a round robin to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, just east of the District of Columbia. And I had with me a lady whose husband was in the MIA category, missing in action, an Air Force pilot. And she was battling the breast all the way up to the Pentagon. And she'd come out every once in a while. She said, I need a ride to Washington, D.C. Everybody around there was more than pleased to support her. And I was fortunate enough to give her a ride to Andrews on one of those trips. Also, I think it was in the might have been in the 131 because we had a Navy Admiral aboard. We were headed back to Offutt. And the weather was miserable that night. We were dodging thunderstorms, dodging them right and left. Finally, we were, looked like we were getting a little low on fuel to try to stretch it into Offutt, especially with the bad weather around. So I filed for a passenger stop at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. It's about on our route anyway. And I called ahead and told them we had I think he was the equivalent of a 2-star. They let me in code 8 VIP. That meant they were probably going to rush the base commander out to meet him, just to say hi and see if he needed anything. landed, shut down, they were fueling it, got off, and here comes the base commander out. The full colonel I knew from a previous base, and he was wearing his fancy duds. That's what the fighter pilots in Vietnam all called it. They had dress-up flying suits with all kinds of spit and polish and parts and darts all over them, and he was wearing that fancy flying suit of his, and the admiral got a hell of a kick out of it. Got enough gas, we got home, dodged thunderstorms, got on the ground again. Okay, I think maybe we'll cut it short here. Instead of going all the way down to Lincoln, we'll make a turn around here and head back towards Plattsmouth, little town south of the air base down there, and check out the Missouri River. One of my earlier videos on the 135s, it was the 135S model, Rivet Ball, and I told you about us heading down to the South Pacific, Johnston Island, to take a look at the French nuclear tests, which may or may not have gone off. And it was called Burning Light. And while I was at SAC headquarters, I went in as a watch officer in the control division, shortly promoted to officer in charge OIC of the ELINT, Electronic Collection Branch. And I believe I'd been promoted from there to chief of the operations division, control division, where I started as a watch officer. And we got the word that the French were no longer interested in nuclear testing. So the order came down: destroy all Burning Light operations orders. And I thought for a while, and I put all but one of them into the burn bag to be shredded and burned. Something told me, a premonition, if you will. And sure enough, it wasn't but a few months after that, the French announced they were going to resume their nuclear testing. So everybody in the Recon Center, Strategic Reconnaissance Center, was scrambling around. Oh, we got to write that whole thing. And I says, I can have it for you in the morning. And then I fessed up. So all we had to do was pull that one out of the back of a file drawer where I had stashed it, check through it, update a couple of items, and we were off and running. This one was going to involve several commands. SAC was overall operational command authority. Air Force Systems Command, the Navy had a finger in the pie too. And I got on the phone and I contacted all the units we needed. And I set up a meeting at SAC headquarters in the Recon Center about 10 or 12 days from there. Sent a message out, and I had the message in hand, and we were getting chops from all the shops that were needed to. A chop was, yeah, we've read it and it's okay with us. So I get to the protocol office, had to go through there because there were other commands involved. And this young man says, we can't do that. We require at least 30 days notice when other commands are involved. I said, young fellow, you better march at double time because this meeting's coming off in 10 days. And I don't know what they did. They did their thing in 10 days instead of... Let's see, the river ought to be over here just a bit. I think it's at green lines snaking along and left to right in front of the nose. Yeah, I got some traffic out here somewhere. Should be just about off the nose. Maybe he's way up high. Well, Microsoft Flight Simulator 10 lied to me again. He just passed us going the other way. Let's see where we are. 3,500 feet and about around 200 knots. This little goat cruised along at a pretty good clip. It wasn't all that noisy. It wasn't as noisy as the Goonie bird. Yeah, looking for a little airport down here. There it is. Like just right of the right wingtip. That's Plattsmouth, the town I mentioned. I said we'd head over towards here and check out the river. Okay, this next little item I've got for you, I was probably flying the T29 because there weren't any VIPs involved, and we had some cargo to drop off at a couple places. We were going to head south. First stop was Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. But they were, the weather there was below minimums. So legally we couldn't file a flight plan in there. Has to be above minimums. So I briefed the people at Base Ops. I said, I'm going to file Whiteman as a waypoint. When we get down there, we'll check the weather, and if it's above minimums, I'll refile in the air, land at Whiteman, and drop off the packages we got for them. So we took off. I think Whiteman's about an hour south of us, not quite that. And sure enough, I checked the weather and they were above minimums. So I refiled my flight plan in the air and said we'll be making a passenger stop at Whiteman. Got on the ground, offloaded maybe a passenger or two and whatever priority deliveries we had for them. I get a call from the tower. The base commander's up here. He wants to see that pilot that landed here without a clearance. I said, well, excuse me, we had a clearance. We filed in the air to make this a passenger stop. He wants to see the pilot of that airplane in base operations right now. And I said, well, great. I said, would you convey to the base commander that I don't intend to shut down engines? I think we probably shut down one, opened that door, and hauled the stuff off. And he was, what bent him out of shape was the operational readiness people, the inspector generals, love to use the T29s as a ploy. I'm jogging around here to pick up at it here. Well, I turned a little too far to the west. a bit close to the runway, so I'm going to turn outbound here. There's another mile or two of distance from the end of the runway, then we'll make a 180 to the right back in for landing. Reminds me of one more story, as long as I messed this approach up. We were coming back from probably Kadena somewhere in the KC-135, and we're going into March Air Force Base, California, as I recall, and we were hauling some B-52 crews, and I had one of the B-52 aircraft commanders sitting in the jump seat. I told him that was fine. We went right up there to see what was going on, how us folks in the real world. And we were making our letdown, and the controller, ATC guy in charge of our descent, says, if you can bring her down fast enough, I can give you a left turn directly on the final approach at about 7-8 miles out. I said, that sounds pretty good. He said, if you can't make that, he said, I'll take you through on the localizer and give you a 270-degree turn to the right on final, about a mile or so out. Okay, we're going out and we'll do that 180 turn to the right here. So I hold the power off for all 4 engines, pull the speed brakes up, put those big barn doors out, started down with the geared flaps, and you could bring that baby down somewhere around 10,000-15,000 feet per minute. And I told the controller, I says, I think we're going to make the 90-degree left turn. I turned to say something to that B-52 pilot. I says, I bet you didn't think we were going to make this. And that seat was empty. He was in back end strapped down. He didn't trust these tanker pilots. Okay, this gives us a little better shot at the runway. Oh, we are 2,500 feet would be good. Gear down. Bring down and lock. Couple of notches of flaps. There's the runway out there. Those lights tell me that's about the threshold of the runway. So we're going to be touching down. Pull flaps down. Got it. Well, we got time for one more little item that came to mind. I was flying one of these T29s around, and we were doing our little cross-country drop-off priority cargo sort of thing, and the fellow riding right seat with me with co-pilot was that same court neighbor in Alaska, and we're tooling along just having an enjoyable time in the air. It was a pretty decent day, and we're going into Peterson Field at Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we were almost probably 3 or 4 miles on final, and they said, can you make it, can you divert to this other runway? And it was a cross runway, and it wasn't maybe 30, 40 degrees off of what we were doing. So I said, yeah, we can make that. He said, thank you, that'll help us out. And we're scrambling around looking. The guy with me, look, he says, oh wait, he says, hey, that's a 2,500-foot runway. It's only 2,500 feet long. I said, okay, well, we can keep going. The T29 had prop reversers. I've tried them on this flight simulator model, and I can't get them to work. So I wouldn't take this flight into a 2,500-foot runway. But it was just fine that day. Put it on the ground at the end of the runway, put those throttles in the reverse, and there we were, on the ground. Okay, what am I looking for with those lights? Somebody in the back seat tell me. Looking for 2 red and 2 white. So I got 4 white. I guess I must be a little high on the glide slope. There's the glide slope. 2 and 2, 3 and 1, 2 and 2. They're off the grass. Some of these developers, there's a sign in the right in the middle of the taxiway. Some of these, whoever designed the scenery for this, for the airbase here, didn't put some of these signs in the right spot. I'm going to take it down here. And I want to mention one more fella. Engines was a round robin flight flying time, T29, out of Offutt, out and back. And you may remember, get off so we can walk over to the edge of the ramp and have a smoke. I smoked back in those days. Did I? No, I'd already quit. Anyway, we got on a crew bus, and a bunch of navigators, electronic warfare officers trooped on. Gonna get them 4 hours of flying time. One of them was a tall fella, Al Hansen, and all the guys. He was on the rivet ball with me the night we went off the cliff. And all the guys had nicknames, and Al's nickname was Lurch because of his size. It reminded people of the Adams Family and Lurch on that one. And he was going back to his seat, and he just nodded to hello to me. I says, "Hi Al, how you doing?" Got on the airplane, we flew around, got our hours in, came back. I got off first, and I was down on the crew bus, sitting in the front seat, lighting up. No, I said I quit smoking by then. And here the navigators and electronic warfare officers came trooping onto the plane. Al comes up the steps. He stops by me. I said, "Hi, Al." Al says, "Better landing than last time." Turned around, walked back to a seat on the bus. You couldn't beat Al's wit. He was as sharp as a tack with a wit to match. Blew me away. Unfortunately, Al was, of the 18 that walked away, Al was the first one who passed. Still a lot of us still alive, but Al was the first to go. So I got her parked here, and I'm going to, we're shut down. I'm going to put us on standby for a moment. Well, we're back on the ramp. This is another airplane. This is a Piper P28 Cherokee, and it belonged to the SAC Aero Club, Strategic Air Command's Aero Club at Offutt Air Force Base. That was a single-engine piston, 4-place, general aviation, retractable gear. So let's close up that door. See if we can get an engine started up here. Okay, there we go. This is not the exact model. I keep saying that because if I'd have used payware, as airplanes I had to pay for this series, I'd have gone broke. So I was using freeware, and sometimes I needed to settle for closies. I realized closies only count in horseshoes and H-bombs, occasionally in hand grenades. I just saved you a lot of taxi time. Got clearance from the Offutt Tower for an intersection takeoff here. This little bird doesn't take all that much runway, so I think we'd get off the ramp safely from this spot. Should have put one of those dirt snippers in there from that old F-84F. She came off the ground good. Clear the left turn for closed traffic. Take her out a little ways on final before we turn back. When I joined the SAC Aero Club, I signed up, got an instructor assigned to me, and got a couple, 3 rides in this little baby. And he says, "Okay, you're cleared solo." So I followed me a flight plan, local area. And we're turning downwind now. And this is what I did that day. I took off. Got a little altitude, turned downwind. Kind of sat back, looked around, and I said, "Holy mackerel, that's the first time I've been alone in an airplane for a dozen years." I didn't panic. I did get her back on the ground a couple, 3 times. So it's kind of fitting this is the last airplane I bring into this series. Yeah, I moved up 10 models in my flying career. Remember, I started out in that Piper PA28 Super Cub, and now is up to the Piper P28. 10 models later. was assigned to the SAC Recon Center, and our counterpart at the Pentagon was the Joint Reconnaissance Center on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And one day, the Brigadier General in charge of that fired one of the watch officers. So they clumped around, they pulled out the old IBM cards and clumped around in their golf shoes and fed them through the reader, and guess whose card came out as a replacement. I had enough time on station, although I was trying to wrangle a PCS at Offutt to the Joint Strategic Target Planning Staff. But I was eligible for a PCS. I had the clearances, so I got the job. And they handed me my orders. Well, there's Air Force regulations that say you've got to give an individual 60 days orders in hand for a permanent change of station. That is, they're going to give you 60 days to pack up and get gone. And I only had, on the orders, maybe 45 days. So I went to personnel and started running through the out processing. And this young man, one or two striper, hands me a piece of paper, says, "Would you sign this waiver?" I said, "What is that?" He says, "That's waiving 60 days orders in hand." I said, "Son, I'm not going to do that because you didn't give me 60 days orders in hand." I said, "You can tell JCS I'll be there on time, the date required for the report, but I'm not signing your damn waiver." And he said, he looked at me with his pitiful dog, the pitiful dog looking at you. He says, "Oh, I'll have to a message to them and tell them." I said, "Son, if that's your drill, you better get to it." And I called a friend of mine who had moved from SRC up to there, same guy that got me into SAC Recon Center. And I said, "You can tell them I'll be there on time, but I'm not signing their damn waiver. They can either get things done by the books or whatever." So needless to say, we're going to start my left turn here to final approach. Needless to say, when I arrived, I was not the most popular major in the world. Guess by then maybe I was a lieutenant colonel. Yeah. Oh, I don't remember when they finally put it through. When the lieutenant colonel list came out, I was at Offutt, and this friend of mine I just messaged with at the Pentagon. I called him and he says, he's not supposed to do this. He says, "If I got a line number, meaning I'm on the promotion list, I just need to wait out the time." He says, "Would you believe 205? I said, "Okay, thank you." So the first round of promotions came up. Let's put some gear down here. We'll turn it final. And they promoted 200 from major to lieutenant colonel. I said, "Well, there's only 5 to go for the next batch. I can make that easy." And wouldn't you know it, I don't know what happened. I don't recall, but Dick Nixon, who happened to be in the White House at the time, whiling away his time before resignation, got ticked off at the military, and he froze every damn promotion on everybody on the promotion list. So I sat there. I had to sit there and wait about 2 months to get my promotion. They did make us whole for pay. So I thought, if that ain't a typical way to go out. Okay, the runway's out there. You can see those red and white lights at the threshold. That's back at Offutt, landing 30. And this little girl had, that's the flap handle. Manual flap. I guess there's a bunch of wires running from that handle out to the flaps. Put them up and down like that. And this scenery doesn't show it, but the direction we're coming in here, we pass over a highway and there's about a 30-foot cliff embankment up to the runway, and then as soon as you get the threshold, the runway starts dropping away from you. She's a swayback. I mentioned that flood they had here. Hopefully when they repave this runway, they take that dumb swayback out of her. Make it a lot easier. We passed over that highway, and that's the embankment come up there. It doesn't really show. Just didn't like to steer with the brakes on. I didn't know there was a brake in the nose wheel steering. Okay, I'm going to pull her up here short for a minute. And I'm going to pause it. So I got one more of those still slides to show you. You know, I keep referring to when I sign off that for you to keep your head on a swivel, watch your six. Well, this has always been in the back of my mind. One of our instructors, his name was Moose, and he had a voice to match, was, for God's sake, stay away from those props. This is a yearbook from my first flying training base, Bartow Air Base, Florida, the T6. Those are the wings we were shooting for, and the name of her was the Swivel Head, to remind us to keep our head on a swivel. It's a good way to stay alive in an airplane. And inside, which I don't have a picture of, I'm going to read it to you. It says, this book is dedicated to the T6 Texan aircraft, which, with this class, ends a long and colorful career as a flight trainer in the United States Army Air Corps and the United States Air Force. So it's always stuck with me. And remember, these birds were tail draggers. And we were the last to learn to fly in the tail draggers. And we also said we were the last of the real pilots. None of those other folks had any idea what it was like to land in a tail dragger. So I hope you've had some fun along the way. We unpause here. Hope you've had some fun. I hope you've enjoyed spending this time with me in the cockpit, learning a little bit about airplanes and listening to an old man tell war stories. I've enjoyed bringing this series to you. So for one last time, keep your head on a swivel, check your 6, and Offutt Tower. This is Nomad. I'm on the roll. Roger, Nomad. Cleared for takeoff. Gear up. Flaps up. Put that stick handle down in the bottom position. I'll see you in the air down the road there. Rock your wings. See you down the road. Check your 6. I think that's you up ahead of me. Nomad's out.
If you enjoyed some of this material, you might reach up there and click that like button. Want to come back, hit the subscribe to this channel. This is John Aker, call sign Nomad, flying flight simulators based on my career as a U.S. Air Force pilot.
They took the blue from the skies and a pretty girl's eyes and a touch of Old Glory's hue.